everyone, welcome to Friends of Motion, first tutorial for 2026, and Happy New Year. I really hope this year is going to be a good one for you with lots of growth and momentum. So speaking of momentum, today we are going to explore a few AI tools out there that turns 2D images into 3D models. So what I mean by this is you will literally drop 2D images into an AI tool and it will generate a 3D model that you can spin around or render out in your preferred software. Now, I know a lot of you have trepidations on using AI, and I totally respect that, and it's totally valid, totally get it. But for me, as an art director, creative director, I'm starting to use these tools more and more as part of my own tool belt. Not as a replacement for my skill or my taste, but as something that helps me move faster and explore ideas, especially when I'm selling concepts early on. I just want to show you what's out there because our industry is changing with the speed of light, as you know, and I think it's useful to at least know what tools exist and have them available if and when they make sense for your workflow. So the first place you're going to go to is Top3D.ai. I have no affiliation to this website. I just find it extremely useful because they rate the top image to 3D models and it's based on community ratings. So you'll see Tripo AI is the top today, January 2026. But I promise you in a week from now, this whole list will probably be different. Also, what I like about it is that it shows you which one has multi-view input. It shows you the price. It shows you which one you can have. You can split into parts or have poly control or remesh. Truly, truly useful. Also, I love the battleground where you can actually literally compare apples with apples because there is an Apple model. And as you can see, some will be better with hard surface modeling. Some will be better with organic modeling. So definitely head over here first before you start anything because it will all depend on what kind of model you want to build. All right, so we are going to start with just first creating consistent multi-angle views of your image. And I'm using Nano via Google Gemini. If you're a character designer, you can probably do this in your sleep. You can find Nano in quite a few aggregators like Adobe Firefly, Hixfield, OpenArt, so many places where you can find this. I will just show you how I do it in my Gemini account. So first, you're just going to drop your image into the prompt box and make sure you are selecting creating an image. This is the prompt I use just to get a 2x2 layout with different views. And you can maybe just pause this to read and see how I described a little bit about the image. Then Nano gave me 4 images. Sometimes you have to do it quite a few times. Like I think I did it twice because it wasn't exactly the images I wanted. So once you have the different angles, you're going to prompt again. And now you want to isolate each one. So you're going to start with the left and the right, then the front, then the bottom left, bottom right, until you have a nice 2K, ideally 4K image of each side. And at the end of this, we will use the image to compare the models with each other to see if they did a good job staying close to the reference. Now, the first one we're going to try out is Microsoft Trellis, and I'm going to do this through Hugging Face because this is basically free. And I wanted to create something where, regardless of your financial situation, you can still create one. Now, unfortunately, with this Hugging Face method, you can only do 2 a day or maybe 3. But I think this is a good enough tool if you just want something quick and cheap. Now, the UI is pretty much the most basic of them all. There was not much you can do. You cannot add any multi-images. You can only add 1 image and no really refinement. You can create the texture size. You can change the decimation target. And there's some advanced settings that I just left on default. And then you will just push the generate button and it will take a few minutes, like 2 or 3 minutes. And the first one it came out was pretty bad. Also, just a note, the interaction, the UI is very basic. You cannot rotate. You just have to slide the slider and there's some buttons you can press for the texture. So I tried another one where it was more the front view, so it's symmetrical, and this one was a little bit better. And then the next day I tried a few more that I didn't record, but just so you know, I tried about 4 of them over 2 days, and I just picked the best one, but that I'll show at the end of this video. So once you like it, you're going to download, you're going to generate the GLB, and then you will be able to really rotate around it, and it's pretty intuitive, and you download the GLB at this bottom. Now, ironically enough, when I downloaded it, I couldn't open it on my PC, which is a 3D viewer from Microsoft. So I had to go to convert3d.org, and I had to this is a free program. I think you get 2 downloads a day, and I had to convert it again into a GLB, and then I managed to open it in the 3D viewer and into Cinema. So the next one is Hunyuan 3.0 multi-view, and I just love this UI. I felt it was very intuitive. It felt like a 3D program that we all know. You can upload 4, that was great. And I just kind of left it at the normal settings. And then it took about maybe less than a minute, to be honest. One thing I have to say, this is not free. I had to pay $10 for the month. And I felt like it was worth it because the model and the mesh was actually quite amazing. It looked pretty close to the representation of the image. Also, once you generate it, there is a few options you can do. You can have segments, you can send it to Painter to paint the texture. So there's quite a few things. I didn't do much on these. All that I wanted was to remesh it. So I clicked on the retopology button, and there is quite a few options that you can export it as. I just wanted an FBX. I made it, you can do it for Blender if you need to do it for a specific software. Then I changed the format to JPEG 4K, and I start remeshing. Now this is the part where I kind of screwed up a little because I thought, well, where is it? What's happening? And because there's no progress bar. And then I realized, oh, you have to clear it and then go to your dashboard, and then you'll see it all be busy running there. You'll see that I actually have made quite a few flowers in the beginning because I was just pressing the button the whole time and wasted quite a few credits, but that's how you learn. All right, so now once it's done, you'll see you can just download it. Unfortunately, you cannot see the mesh, so you'll have to go open it up in Cinema or Blender or wherever so you can see if it did a good job, but we will check that out at the end of this video. Next test is Rodin via Weavy. So the reason I picked Weavy is because I already had a subscription and I didn't want to sign up for yet another one. So I will also at the end show you how to do this just quickly through Top3D.ai, which I believe is the company who created Rodin. So let's start with Weavy and then we'll get to Hyper3D. If you don't know what Weavy is, it is a node-based video, image, and 3D model generator. It's one of my new favorite things. I feel like this is it needs to be almost a tutorial by itself. So I'm not going to go too much in detail about how it works. I'm hoping what I'll show you is just going to be intuitive and it's easy enough to follow along. So you're going to go to create new file. You will go to the little search bar and you will search for Rodin. You'll see that they have SAM, 3D, Meshy. I have tried them and none of them really work really great. This Rodin was the one that was for me the best. You have the Rodin node. Now I'm going to ask for a prompt node. Very easy, it's super simple. Then I'm just going to say here, Lily in bloom. Going to add that to my prompt. Then I'm going to drag my images in here. Just drag it from your desktop or wherever. It's going to take some time to load. We can close this. Okay. Control middle mouse to zoom in and out. And then it takes a bit of time to just figure out how the middle mouse button you do a lot with. So it's either control zoom in or just click on the middle mouse and move it around. Then I'm going to just link these. I'm going to add 3 images, 1, 2, 3. Actually, we just need 3 because I've tried it with 4 images. It didn't work that well. So I just plugged in 3 instead of 4. So I'm just going to add this is my main one. I'm not sure if there's a if it makes a difference what you use first, but I've used my frontal view as my first image. Then I picked this one for the side. I would say just pick one of them because I've tried 4 and it didn't work. So let's just drop that one out. Then the back one is my third one, like that. Now, I have also tried all these and nothing worked. And the only one that worked was this 18K quad and GLB. Maybe if you try it, it will work, but for me, it just didn't work. So yeah, then you just press run model and we'll come back and check it out. All right, so here are results and it looks pretty terrible. Generated 3, so the first one was terrible. And to be honest, guys, I have not changed anything. I just press run selected. It's on random, so it will do random generations. And then finally, the third one was good enough for this tutorial. I do think it's a bit like gambling, like playing the slot machine, because you're doing everything the same. You're not changing anything. It's just a random seed that's different. And basically just running, wasting credits until you find something that's a winner. So that's just something to keep in mind. There are free models and not so free models. And it's something you have to weigh up when you're using these tools. So I do want to mention that I did try Rodin through Hyper 3D. I didn't want to sign up for a subscription, so I just did the free model where you can upload one image and it will generate a model for you. I first did the side profile and it wasn't that successful. Then I tried the front profile and it also wasn't that great. I can see that when you subscribe to it, there's way more options like multi-view and you can get all the textures out. So maybe it's worth checking this out. I just didn't want to, as I said, I don't want to sign up for yet another thing, but worth checking out. The next one is Tripo 3D, Studio Tripo3D.ai. And this one I really liked the UI. I thought it was very intuitive. I only had the free version where you can upload one image, and this one is quite limited of what you can do, but what I liked is that you have an option for quads. Unfortunately, the generation was actually one of the worst in terms of following the design. It made up new leaves and the stamens wasn't the right shape, but I've only generated once. I didn't try a whole bunch of times. The topology was really good. The quads were really nice and clean. So I think if this is something where maybe you're not so specific about the shape, it's more about the clean geo and the nice UI to work with, I would say this is a good option for that. And I can see that if you look at the top tabs here, that if you subscribe to this, there's quite a few more options where you can retopologize, you can texture, you can even rig. So I think there's a lot of potential in this UI. I just didn't want to pay for another thing, so worth checking out and see what it can do. All right, so let's look at the results. I've imported them all into Cinema 4D, and they all came with a default shader that just works magically in Redshift. It's just one diffuse color. I'm going to first go over the UVs because the UVs were all different. Tripo, the UVs were pretty, busy, not the best. Then let's look at Hunyuan. Hunyuan was a little bit better than Tripo. Then I would say the worst was Trellis, which was just super messy and definitely not usable. Then Rodin was actually the best for this challenge. Now, if we look at the textures, it only came with one texture. Maybe there was ways to get normal map and bump maps. I didn't see a way to get them. They're all kind of okay in terms of textures. I think this one, again, Rodin was the winner because there was some detailing in the petals that I thought was really nice and very close to the reference. Now, speaking of very close to the reference, let's look at the image and compare it to what we got. So Tripo wasn't great. It didn't follow this design. It added new leaves and all that. Then Hunyuan was actually my favorite. The mesh was pretty nice. The quads were really clean. Microsoft Trellis was very close to the design, but I had to do quite a few generations before it got to where I got. It was fine, but the mesh was very, very dense. Then Rodin was also okay, but it did not match the image at all. In terms of cost, Rodin, if through Weavy, is the most expensive, but it will be cheaper if you do it through Hyper 3D. If I have to pick, I would say Hunyuan would be my option if this is something I do for a living or if I have to do quite a lot of them. I feel these are not great at matching the exact image yet. And yet with an exclamation mark, because we all know this is the worst it will ever be. And in a week from now, it probably would do it exactly like we want it. Then I would not trust any of these platforms to upload anything that's proprietary or confidential. If you're under an NDA, do not upload anything that the client is not aware of. Then textures and UVs need cleanup. And, if you're a real 3D artist, this is probably something you can do in your sleep. I think these are absolutely good enough for style frames, the ideation and selling an idea to a client, especially before budgets are approved and you don't have a budget to get a 3D modeler in to do the work. But the opportunity is in how we show up as motion designers, as VFX people. How do you elevate the idea, how you add value, and how you help your clients see a bigger picture? So these tools, if you use it well, these tools can support that, not replace what you're good at and what you do, just really help raising the bar. I definitely think all of us need to step back and embrace a little bit of this AI because it's not going to get worse. So yeah, let me know if this is at all helpful. If you want more tutorials like this, I would really like to know. And until next time, thank you.